Hey everybody, welcome to Salty Saturday, the second week of the regular season. I'm Donde, excited to be here as always with you tonight, and back for the first time this season is our man Isaac. Ice, what's going on?
Hello, hello. Happy to be back. I'm ready to cast some exciting and definitely meaningful Hearthstone tonight.
Thank you for that segue, because yes, we do have two fantastically meaningful games, not in the sense that they are meaningful for the week, but of course every point counts. Even though your team might not have a chance to get the W this week, you still, you might be wishing for these 4 points as we get towards the end of the season. You never know. So right now we are going to be looking at two matches here, starting off with a legacy match in the Red Conference between Jolt C of Bank Yugi Fan Club. That's the Pasca team name that you may not be able to read properly because you can't speak that language. I can't either. And Mighty Biz of Illidan's Death Knights. So Illidan's Death Knights has this series well in hand, 16-6 right now. And right now, they have won every match in this series. Mighty Biz, of course, and Jolt C, the last ones to play. So Jolt C looking to get on the board for the first time this season for Pasca's team, because they had a bye in week one. That's not the greatest start to the season, Iscles, but how do you feel about this team overall?
So at the beginning of the season, I had them pretty high up, I think, in the Palbot rankings. And, a bye and then a tough week against a team that's clearly come out the gate strong is, I don't think, an indicator of where this team's going to end up. It's still a strong team with a good pedigree. So, I expect this just to be a little bit of a blip for them and them to be very much in contention at the end of the season in the red playoff picture. So.
Yeah, I would agree. It's going to look very odd to see a team that 0 points a week one to the bye, and then having a bit of a struggle here in week 2. They're going to be on the lower end of the spectrum here in the standings, but that's not a problem yet. Week 2 still very very early, and I think it's not time to panic. That being said, I'm sure Jolt C would be very happy to get his team on the board and get them up to the 10-point mark after this week. So we are going to be looking at actually a pretty good spread of classes here between the two. We got Druid, Hunter, Paladin, and Warrior for Jolt C, and Demon Hunter, Paladin, Warlock, and Warrior for Mighty Biz. So most of the usual suspects, but a good spread across the two. We got 6 different classes here. So what do you think we might see for a ban here? I haven't gotten word yet, so this will be a full-on guess. I'm not tricking you right now.
No, that's fine. It's interesting too. Like you mentioned, there being a spread of classes with 6 in particular, and the 2 that are missing tonight are Priest and Mage, which have both been
Yes.
very popular. So these 2 players deciding not to go with what most other players have. So looking at that lineup with Jolt C bringing the Druid, Hunter, Paladin, and Warrior, a lot of board-based decks, a little more on the aggressive side. So it wouldn't surprise me to see him ban either the Warrior or the Paladin. I'd probably say the Warrior. I think that some of these decks can still get through the Paladin because Paladins have kind of gotten more aggressive themselves. And then from Mighty Business side, with the Demon Hunter, Paladin, the Warlock, and the Warrior, this to me seems like a Paladin ban just to protect that Demon Hunter. It's not something that the Warlock cares too much about either. So I would expect a Paladin ban from Mighty Biz and a Warrior ban from Jolt C. We'll see what they decide. But
All right. Well, as I mentioned, still waiting on the info here. So, anything else in Legacy Red stand out to you this week while we're waiting for this final
yeah,
confirmation of bans?
no, we talked about Bank TV Fan Club starting out with a bye and then taking a loss week 1. But let's talk about the other team tonight, is Illidan's Death Knights, a team that I'll cop to it, rank them as a golden common to start the season. It's I mean a little bit of a meme at this point to just criminally underrate JR Juggalaw's teams. Interestingly enough, his teammate Matt at Arms is our producer on the podcast, so he was threatening to walk off the stage, as it were, when he saw the rankings for that team. But they have absolutely proved us wrong immediately with 2 big wins the first 2 weeks. So this is a team that is doing extremely well. They're 1-2 seed. Rice Bowl and TC are both 2-0. It's what you like to see. And so this team is clearly setting a high bar for the rest of the Red Conference. And looking at the rest of it, I mean, it looks pretty competitive. We've got a lot of results still waiting for that Legend versus F2L. The other team that had a big week in week 1, Standard THL Degenerates, is on a bye this week. And then the other series, I think, are still all in the balance. So Illidan's Death Knights is definitely making a name for themselves early with a lot of competition right below them. So hats off to them, and we'll see Mighty Biz in action tonight for them.
Yeah, looking forward to getting this one started. And while we're waiting here for the final confirmation, we are getting a Pro Series match, our first one of the season, in the second part of this doubleheader. That's going to be Ducharmo versus Lefty. So a couple longtime THL vets here, both looking to go to 2-0. They're the 1 seeds on their respective pro teams right now. So that should be another really, really good quality match we'll see here. And we'll get to know the deck list for that when we get to it, which is nice. We don't know the deck list here because it is Legacy. So we're all just kind of guessing here while we wait. And I did get a notice from Jolt C of what he is banning. So he just says he hasn't heard back from Mighty Biz yet. And oh, wait, something popped on my screen. Okay, so I believe this is exactly what you said. Mighty Biz's Paladin is going to be banned, and the Warrior for Jolt C is banned.
Oh, okay. Well, I got the classes right, but I flipped the
Oh,
players.
you flipped the
I think
players? Okay, I couldn't
went
remember
the other
if
way. But
yeah.
yeah, I mean, it's similar. Like the way that Paladin and Warrior play are pretty similar. So it almost becomes sort of a dealer's choice in which one you want to ban when you're bringing the types of lineups that we see from both players. So not too shocking that I had the classes right, but the players wrong. So, but yeah, makes sense.
All right. Well, I'm proud of you because it's always good to start off your season with some accurate predictions, or at least as accurate as they can be. So
Accurate-ish. Yeah.
it's a tough game. So I let the players know that they're set to go, and we should be seeing them go into game here shortly. With Jolt C will be on the bottom of your screen, and Mighty Biz will be on the top.
Guys, Friends list, don't fail me now.
Yeah, I'm currently dealing with the final boss of streamcasting, which is that friends list.
So right away, we see with Jolt C brewing a heavy druid, wild growth, overgrowth, teacher's pet, stuff that you don't see as often on a ladder. If you run into druid, it's more likely the token version. So he has an idea in his mind of what he wants to go against, which makes sense as to why he left the warrior up. And then from Mighty Biz's side, we see a Rush Warrior, all the makings of a very good start, including the Shield of Honor, which has come into flavor with no hands. Kind of took this deck to the top of the ladder, and then has fallen off more recently with BS's latest reports. So Mighty Biz going with that sort of intermediary version with the Shield of Honors, but um, interesting that he didn't play the Gennard on turn one. It's usually like a slam on the first turn.
Yeah,
But
that's one of the highest win rate cards in the deck, if not the highest in most matchups.
right. So you opted for the athletic studies, which is fine. Plays the Gennard in this turn, and probably followed up with the Crab Rider to have some presence on the board. Yeah, once he kind of gets the idea, I think he will this next turn of what Joltzy is doing. He is going to want to find as much pressure as he can to try to end this game before the Druid just puts up too much of a wall on the board. So
Yeah, we see that Primordial Protector come in hand. If we didn't know this was Clown Druid already, that's a great uh, card in the new Clown Druid. So if we can get to turn, well, not turn 8, mana turn 8 for Jolt C, he should be able to get going and put some things in the way. But this Crab Rider represents a lot of potential damage if it can get buffed.
yeah, the Rush Warriors that are more common don't have a way to buff on the board except for Rokara. So it'll be interesting to see if this Carbider gets damaged. That can take advantage of the Shield of Honor. But I think for now,
Right.
Joel is just happy for ramping up with the Overgrowth and not doing anything else. So the pressure from the Rush Warrior is not quite as great as some of the other aggro decks that we see in the meta right now. It's very good at controlling the board, but it's not always as good at just pushing the massive threats unless you're able to find the conditionings, the Overlord run deck, and things like that to build up the huge boards on your own. So we don't see those cards right now for Mighty Biz. So this might be a little bit of a challenge for him to put out enough pressure to stop the Druid from ultimately turning this game around.
And interesting there, Mighty Biz opts to hold the Parade Leader back. Thought that we might have seen that in conjunction with the bumper cars there. Instead, just goes with the bumper car in Hero Powers instead. But now it's Guardian Animals on, on 4, which is very, very strong, as usual.
Yeah, I think just the way that Mighty Abyss is playing this, it could be maybe just a symptom of not seeing this druid that often, or just not having a recollection of warriors versus the guardian druids in the past. But he's taken a couple turns slower in a couple different decisions, whether it was the Gennard on turn one, whether it was hero powering last turn instead of playing the parade leader. He does get the run back, which is pretty nice here,
Right on
but
time.
he's missed some opportunities to push war presence and it's we'll see if it ends up costing him, but for now, he at least is going to be able to clean up the board from Jolt C's side. So
Yeah, very important here to go ahead and get rid of the Twilight Runner to make sure that the draw doesn't get out of control. But Jolt C has just a plethora of
well,
options in hand, and I assume we're going to see this Primordial right now.
yeah, especially with the pickup of the strongman,
Yeah,
I think there
huge.
might have been some deliberation there on what to play, but as soon as you picked up that strongman, oh my gosh, and the big
It's,
hit
yeah,
off
big, big
the
10.
10. So there's some 10 mana cards that don't quite give you that many stats, but a 10-10 is perfectly fine, especially when you have a 6-6 on the board. And so now I think this is the point of the game where it is completely turned. And unless Mighty Biz is running ETC and is able to put together some crazy amount of combo damage, he's going to have a really tough time coming back in this one.
I expected we might have seen the Broom there, just to go ahead and save the 2-1 for an extra pump of the survival of the fittest next turn. It wasn't necessary. I don't think it was a right or wrong decision there, particularly, but could have been an option. This is still representing, what, 22 damage plus. We know survival is in the hand. If you're Mighty Biz, you know it's there. So you got to clear
Right.
some stuff to not die.
Yeah. Yeah, and I just don't know that you have the tools to do it. Parade Leader is a great start, But having already played the bumper card, you don't get that
Hmm.
kind of instant board between that, the parade leader, and the bumper cars, which can do a whole lot of work for the warrior in terms of cleaning up. So, unfortunately for him, he will probably be able to kill maybe one of these things.
Yeah, it was either
But
Blade Fist or Samuro.
yeah, and then armoring up. So 16 plus 8, 24. So he's not dead on the board, but it's only a matter of 2 turns before this game's over. Especially with the strongman pickup behind. Yeah.
Unreal draws there the last 2 turns.
Yeah, I think this was pretty well in hand for Jolt C pretty much from the opening mulligan when he was able to hit the wild growth and the overgrowth. The warrior has a great ability to control the board against aggressive decks, but Jolt C was in no rush and he wasn't put on a clock by the warrior at all. So it's made this game pretty much textbook from the Druid's perspective.
Yeah, Druid likes to ramp, and if it ramps quickly, it gets out of control quickly, and that's exactly what we saw here. Mighty Biz, there's just no cards in this deck that handles what we're seeing. There is no Baron. I'm trying to think of a Barov. That's it. Yes.
Yeah. No, the Rush Warriors haven't been playing that card.
No, not at all.
Because the meta just hasn't been set up for it. It's been mostly aggressive decks. So, and then mages and priests, which you're not winning by clearing their stuff, you're winning by killing them. So Barrel doesn't really fit in this iteration.
Some very upset Mighty Biz fans in the background there, Icicles.
Yeah, there's not the whole lot I'm gonna do about that. I don't think.
That's okay.
Small chat that has decided at that time is the perfect time to throw tantrums now. So.
Is there a better time? I'm unaware of one.
It's true. It's true.
And the final swings will go to face there. Joltzy opting for the exact lethal with the hero power, and it will be game 1. Joltzy takes it with the Druid, and this is Conquest. So that means that Druid can't win again. And we will probably, at some point, if not right away, see that Rush Warrior again for Mighty Biz. But it's only 1-0, so still early on in the series here. And Hunter and Paladin left for Joltzy.
I think it's very likely that we do see that warrior again. I think the Druid's by far the worst matchup because of that specific deck, but the Rush Warrior should be relatively favored against what we've seen from Face Hunter these days, as well as most versions of Paladin. I think that the board control that the Warriors be able to manage, even what we don't see as much anymore, like the Secret Libram Paladins, which are a little heavier, still can't quite keep up with what the Warrior's able to do, because if you're not able to pressure the Warrior, then conditioning and run deck are able to buff the Warrior minions to pretty ridiculous levels. So, but we are going to see a switch. Mighty Biz has brought out the Warlock. Looks like a control Warlock with Alex, which isn't always an inclusion, so that's pretty interesting. And then Jolt C with what definitely looks like a Face Hunter.
Yeah, Face Hunter is the hunter right now. Leorox is still it's played here and there, but I don't think it's strong enough across the board in a Conquest format to really be a consistent bring, unless you're targeting something really heavy. But Face Hunter, it's good. It gets there a lot of the time, even in matchups where it's not favored, just because it does what it does so quickly. Now, interestingly enough, we saw Scavenger's Ingenuity in the opener there. Not a card that is in all of the Face Hunters, right, Icicles? Bear
Right.
Shark. Definitely not a card that's in all the Face Hunters.
Yeah, so I think Jolt C had in mind that this Warlock and potentially the Demon Hunter were going to be his targets. So the Bear Shark fits that well by not being targetable, or some of the removal that the Demon Hunter has, some of the removal that the Warlock has. Warlock's choices does have Hysteria for other minions, as well as the Cascading Disasters to potentially clean it up. But definitely an interesting inclusion that has been more popular, particularly in the face of mages and priests, which we talked about at the beginning of neither player working. So very, very interested to see that Jolt C decided that the Bear Shark was still the choice.
Mankrik showing up right on time there to try and search for his wife. He is usually the play you want to have on 3 as the Face Hunter, and that's exactly what we see Jolt C do.
Yep. Yeah, so if he can finish that combo off by finding Kodobama and getting the 310 out right away, then he'll be in good shape. So,
yeah, it's tough to deal with if you're the Warlock. Hysteria would really be the best card in the deck probably, if you know there's enough things on the board to kill it. But Void Caller is a pretty decent option in hand for Mighty Biz coming up over the next turn or two here.
Right. The Warsong Wrangler is a pretty nice pickup for Joel C.
Yeah.
We'll get to see what other beasts are in the deck. We've already seen Wolpertinger, we've seen Bear Shark. So curious if he's only running 3 with the Tundra Rhino as the last choice. Possibly we see Zixor. Some of these builds typically stop at 3 beasts, just to always guarantee what you pick up off the Wrangler. But it goes with the Felmoth, which I kind of like here to, 1, leave in the hero power, and 2, just ensure that Felmoth comes online sooner. I think if you hadn't played it this turn, you'd have a hard time playing it in future turns. So
I agree.
I like the pressure coming out from Joel C here.
Not only that, the Rhino, the value is a little bit decreased in this deck, as Warlock isn't generally trying to play a whole lot of minions, especially not a whole lot of small minions. So you aren't going to have as many targets for it as you would in like any other board-centric deck, Rush Warrior, that we saw last game, for example.
Yeah, something interesting there that Mighty Biz decided to do. He was, so there we go. So we do have the 4th beast, at least, with Zixor here. Most likely the Rhinos to pick. When you're in this position where you are sort of in control, you want that extra damage going face. So I think, interesting. He goes with more of an immediate benefit with buffing Wolpertinger and then playing the one right behind it. So I was going to say on Mighty Biz's side, he opted not to play the Voidkin card on the last turn, instead using removal. I think I like developing minions there. They can often do the trading for you and potentially put your opponent in a bad spot if they don't have the answer. But School Spirits is a nice cleanup here, followed by the Drain Soul. You do guarantee Felmoth is going to once again be face moth, but at least a nice use of tools there from Mighty Biz's perspective.
Yeah, that using the buff on the Wolpertinger was immediately punished by having that School Spirits in hand, and Joel C might have been thrown off a little bit as it didn't come out right away. And yeah, that's a good holdback by Mighty Biz in order to get the most value out of that possible. But we do see the Rhino come into hand now via that Scavenger's Ingenuity, I should say. But Bear Shark is the play this turn.
Interesting, again, Joel C not playing the Demon Companion now. He had the mana to use it. I'm trying to think of the use case for saving it. But as the Hunter, I probably want to just throw everything down on the board. It gets cleaned up by Hysteria anyway, I guess. I don't know if it would have changed the math one way or the other.
No, but, I mean, it would have possibly survived, obviously 50-50 that it would have survived. I'm thinking maybe if the argument for holding the Demon Companion might be that you were hoping for the buff demon, and then you get your 2 damage. So it basically allows you to either get the 2 damage via the buff or 2 damage via the charge. So it gives you 33% more chances to get immediate damage. But we're going to see the Rhino now.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of just using your mana, especially when you're the aggressor. You really don't want to leave options on the table, especially something like that probably wouldn't have changed too much by holding it later. So, but yeah, big Rhino and just a lot of pressure that, despite all that Joel C has been able to put out for Mighty Biz. Responding with the double Drain Soul with Power of Tamsin is pretty nice. It also will require an answer from the Hunter. Tamsin is not a card you want to, not a character you want to leave on the board for any amount of time.
Yeah, Tamsin, a card that I think is going to continue to be very, very strong over multiple metas here. And Quickshot, a nice answer to that. That Tamsin. I think
Piercing Shot might be the option here. Save that Quickshot because you're pretty low in resources.
Zixor is fine as well then.
Yeah, and then no, please play the Demon Companion. There's really no reason not to. I guess now actually there is a reason not to, because now it does change the Hysteria math. So in this case, I think Joel C is correct in not playing it. Because if you had played it, it would have resulted in a full clear. So I think that was smart in this instance. But now we see the Void Drinker coming down, and all of a sudden the Wolf is starting to put up a little bit of a fight.
Oh, there's Kodobane.
Yeah, and as we say that, Kodobama right on cue to give a lot of juice to the Hunter, as well as pulling the 310 out of the deck. So nice pickup there for Joel C.
So we're going to see Adorable Infestation and the second Scavenger's Ingenuity, in addition to, of course, Mancrick's wife. Well, Mancrick. Via Angry because he found his wife.
Right. Yeah, I think that's just a huge sequence there for Jolt C. It looked like Mighty Biz was starting to stabilize that, but he still might have the
I
option
I was
to.
gonna
You
say,
can,
yeah, with between Alex
yeah,
Strauss as strongman this turn and then
do
having
himself and
Yasharaj as a
strongman.
follow up next turn, it could
Hmm.
very well be okay.
Right. Yeah.
You
Yeah. The
don't
extra
need
resource.
you don't need the Yasharaj to be overwhelming
Oh,
in this
wow.
bat. Oh my goodness, never
What a
mind.
big pickup. Yeah, that's pretty massive. To be able to play Zixor. Um, he, he might have
I,
liked to have
I
had it
I was
still in the
just gonna
deck,
say might have
just
wished
for
the
the ingenuity.
scavengers. Yeah,
Yeah, so I wonder what's left. He's played a Bear Shark, he has one in hand. He's played one Rhino, and I think I think he only played one Rhino. So
he's played one
maybe,
Rhino. Yep, because
yeah.
we
So
saw the second Rhino as an option on the second
mhm,
Warsong Wrangler, but opted
yeah.
not to play it.
So this should get the
Here's the
Rhino.
Rhino. Yep.
Let's see what else he opts to do here. Maybe he gives the Adorable Infestation buff to the Rhino, just so it can test the Alex as well. There's a little extra damage. No, opts to save it for now. See where else he spends his mana.
You've
But
seen both Asterias too, so running out
mhm,
of board clears,
right,
unless
right.
there's a Twisting Nether hiding in the deck or in the hand.
Militia is a pretty good one as well.
5 fragments
Um,
in deck too, very, very
yeah.
good.
So 1, 2. You only need 4 to clear the board,
Yep.
assuming the 8 is hitting the 3 10. So really nice top deck for Mighty Biz
Yeah, a
to
lot of timely
swing this
pickups in
game.
this game on both sides of the table.
Yeah, yeah. He's still in a precarious position at 11 health. Having seen both Rhinos in a piercing shot, um, there's still a decent amount of burst left for the Hunter, but it's gonna be pretty close as to whether he can, Chelsea can find that last little bit he needs to get over the edge with a lot of pressure coming back from the Warlock now. Interesting, he chose Raised Dead as an option. Generally, you don't want to even play your normal Raised Deads as a priest against a Hunter because you just don't want to do their job for them.
Right.
But Piercing Shot is a massive pickup. How close are we to lethal now? We have 3 and potentially 5. Oh, that's
Oh,
lethal right
that's
there.
lethal. Yes, I was just
Yep.
gonna say if he gets the one health, if hopefully he recognizes that.
Yeah, that goes face. Quick Shot adds 3 down to 6. Has enough mana to hero power behind it. So, yeah, that is representing lethal damage. Chelsea doing the quick math. It looks like he has spotted it.
And multiple times this game, it looked like we were going to see Mighty Biz stabilize, and a couple of times with the top decks he received, it was very, very close to happening. But yeah, it
Yeah.
was just a swingy game, and Face Hunter gets there.
I mean, it's crazy. Like as much as we felt like the game was swinging back and forth, it really was just the path that the hunter wanted it to be on from the beginning.
Hmm.
Hunters wanted to do damage, and Warlock got no healing from soul shards. The only healing
Yeah,
that it came
I didn't
back
think about
with
that.
was the Tamsin with the double drain souls. So yeah, well played by Joel C, and that's a 2-0 lead. So
Yep.
he will be left with the Paladin now to get a win.
Not something that you're too disappointed with. Paladin, one of the strongest decks, or one of the strongest classes in the meta right now. If that's
Mhm.
the last class you have to get a win with over 3 games, odds are that you're probably going to get there at some point, even if it doesn't happen in game one. And as we said at the top here, this is so crucial for Jolt C and his team to get a win because they've been shut out so far.
Yep. So interesting that Mighty just starts with Demon Hunter. It's typically Demon Hunter's like kryptonite is a paladin. So I wonder what Mighty Biz has up his sleeve here to thinking that the Demon Hunter is the choice against his paladin. It looks like a Soul Demon Hunter. Interesting. It's not something that is seen too often. The sort of mid range that opts to not run a Soul package has been more of a flavor recently for the Demon Hunters.
Hmm.
But this one with Militia definitely looks like a little blast from the past in terms of the Demon Hunter bring. So we'll see how it plays out.
Illidar
From
studies on one here with a couple options. I-beam, the most immediate impact.
Yeah, I think it's a good choice. I mean,
Hmm.
sometimes you save that OR studies to hit the skull at the turn. You can use it, but yeah, I don't mind the immediate benefit of the I game. Maybe he draws something cheap that he can play. Hey, you're right on cue. You'll be able to play that. But I guess he goes ahead and plays the I-beam for 2 instead of developing the jailer and then cleans out the
Ooh.
jailer.
Okay, so that
Interesting.
yeah, so that was not realizing that the discount was going to happen.
Yeah, no, that's okay. I would have liked to save the coin, but I
Right.
do at least appreciate the development here. So for Jolte's side, we haven't talked about this paladin yet, but Sword of the Fallen indicates that this is a secret paladin. So we'll be curious to see what secrets he has opted for in the deck. We already see an Avenge, the other secrets that are usually chosen, Galloping Savior and Oh My Yag. So we'll be curious to see what he picks up, but interesting he opts not to go for the sword and just goes for the minion development instead.
Yeah, Noble Sacrifice, another one that shows up sometimes as a one of, but not all the time. I think
Mhm.
I like the minion development here because both of these minions can test that 1/3. He's probably going to plink it into the. Well, we're going to use the Fury possibly off the one maker, but I would assume we want to get rid of at least one of these minions here.
Yeah, I think playing Fury is fine here. It lets you kill off the 3/2 and trade off the bubble. So
Right.
you at least leave yourself in a at least a relatively even position on the board, as well as you could have done with the one maker first. So
Second Sword of the Fallen in hand here, and we're
yeah,
going to see all of the secrets over the next 4 turns. I would imagine that
yeah.
the Joltzy has, or Kazakus could come down on 4, which is the option
I
instead.
think I think Kazakus makes sense here, just to curve right into the 5 minute golem. You're kind of seeing from Mighty Viz what kind of demon hunter you're up against with the Spirit Jailer and the One Maker. So I think you want to just be on the board and pushing pressure as much as you can. So um, I haven't caught what the options were. We'll see what we ended up with. Divine Shield and draw 2 cards.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
think
it's
those are
good.
probably the best ones out of the choices that were provided. I think Stealth was another option rather than the Divine Shield, but Divine Shield is a good pickup in general.
Yeah. Yeah, certainly is something that is quite annoying for a demon hunter to deal with because the removal is all about smacking things, and divine shield just means you have to smack it twice. So it's a good choice here for the golem. We'll see if he opts to go straight into it. I would imagine so. You're not too afraid of what the demon hunter can answer it with. So I like just continuing to pressure here, getting some more gas for yourself, and putting up a very difficult minion to deal with from the demon hunter's perspective. Ogremancer is a nice inclusion in the Secret Paladin deck, particularly against the Warlock, should that matchup be relevant here in the future. Can also be annoying for the Demon Hunter to some extent, considering that a lot of the Demon Hunter's abilities to do damage are spells like the Chaos Strike and the Relentless Pursuit. So, um, but now I think Mighty Biz is going to be able to get down ablatively and at least clear up his minion, potentially also prevent damage from being taken on the backswing. He does lose out on a life steal, but could at least be worth not taking damage. But is he playing his face? Is that what I'm seeing here? Interesting. Okay.
Yes, he
So he
is.
does want the healing. Very interesting. So feels like board control is not in his wheelhouse. That he just wants to try to push the damage first, and then maybe use militia in a couple turns to clean up whatever is left of the board at that point.
Ogremancer
And
coming
the
down
Ogremancer.
now alongside this Conviction, which has been pumped up to rank 2. And
Mm-hmm.
this is just a lot of stuff on board that's just going to be a pain to deal with for Mighty Biz. And not being able to use spells, of course,
Yeah.
is making it even tougher. We're going to see Chaos Strike potentially here off the first. No,
Yeah,
throw it
this
back.
is a good play in the Ogremancer. This is why I was looking for Mighty Biz to
Right.
make that trade last turn, so that he'd still have a minion on the board and potentially prevent something like Jolty having a free development. But opting to start with the Lucky Soul, just put some fragments in and a weapon, it's totally fine. I think next turn is definitely Militia, so it makes sense for Mighty Biz in the situation that he found himself in. And we're finally seeing a Sword of the Fallen go with 2 secrets already drawn, but he still should be able to pull at least a couple out of the deck with a couple swings of this weapon. 2 secret he pulled. It is the Galloping Savior. Most likely not
There
going to be
is a
relevant,
noble.
but oh my god, definitely could be if you're looking at interrupting a skull. potentially from the Demon Hunter side. The Crab Rider cannot go face. I
Not
actually
yet,
don't
anyway.
mind, yeah, saving the Crab Rider attack and just using the Ogremancer to clear up the 3/4 just to keep that a more threatening minion alive potentially. I guess the Ogremancer is also to some extent a threat, but um, the Murloc represents a little bit more of a game floating potential. But that helps to just push a ton of damage face, which is pretty good. And oh my gosh, here we go. Tough choice for Mighty Biz. I think it's pretty
Yeah, it's
clearly the
got to
play
be
of
Militia
Militia,
still. Yeah,
but
because even next turn you can still Chaos Strike in a Skull.
yeah, that immediate temptation of playing the skull when you draw it, I think is probably the wrong call anyway, just because of the situation. But particularly against a Secret Paladin when it's almost certain that you're dealing with an Omayad. So I think you got lucky that this wasn't Avenge. So I think you just go ahead and clear off this Ogremancer. Just stop dealing with it. So don't have a lot of life left, but for the most part, Paladins don't have a lot of reach from the hand unless they're running Alex, so which we haven't seen yet. So if that's not in the deck, then Moneybiz does have a chance to sort of turn this game around and just try to keep the board clear. So it'll be interesting to see what he gets off this skull and if he's able to stabilize. You'll see playing Mankrik makes a lot of sense. Just to again give that little bit of reach that a paladin doesn't generally have. You mentioned the noble sacrifice as being a possible inclusion, and it looks like he is just playing all the secrets now, which tells me he's most likely not swinging with a weapon, or maybe he's already pulled all the secrets out of his deck and the weapon swing doesn't matter. So,
Job's done.
all right, so another tough spot for Mighty Biz. I think this is where you're setting up the skull for sure, opening with one of those two cost spells anyway. You know one of them's getting yogged, so it depends on which one you want to get rid of. But see what is in the box.
Soldier
Mana
becomes
Biscuit.
Mana
It's not
Biscuit.
bad.
Yeah, no,
Yeah,
that's actually not. That's very good.
yeah. It lets you do what you're gonna do anyway. Plus, do the cast strike and potentially play something, get off skull if you get something that costs more than 2 mana. Another skull and Kane and the Wandmaker, and now we see the Savior. So, all right, we know we've got a Avenge coming back. Potentially a Noble Sacrifice. Man, this is kind of a tough sequence. I think that's a good pickup as well. I think you want a Chaos Strike here. Um, I guess maybe this is okay as well. And then Kane to eat one of the hits. Yeah, I would have saved the militia attack for the end to see what got buffed. Use Kane to allow for it. Because if this goes on the taunt, then you're in a world of hurt.
Luckily for Mighty Biz, it does not.
Yeah, I think that was a tough turn to navigate. Did okay. With 9 damage represented, a conviction would be lethal. Hammer of the Night is not quite, but Knight of Anointment could potentially find it. So,
Yeah, if Knight. Well,
um,
we've already seen two Hands of Adal, so
mhm,
Conviction would be the draw.
yeah. So Conviction and Blessing of Authority may not be run in the secret list,
There's
but he
Conviction.
does pick up the Conviction. So this would be lethal no matter what,
Yeah,
because
it's
you can play the Hammer and the Conviction.
Well played.
yeah,
Even if the Conviction hits the 1/1, doesn't matter because he has enough damage on board, and
exactly.
it's going to be a 3-0 sweep for Joel C. Joel C doing a little musical targeting, but the arrows definitely go face here. So.
And just like that, very, very quick series there to open the night. A 3-0 win. Big 3-0 win, as we talked about, for the Bank Yugi fan club. Getting the 10 points this week, even in a loss in which 4 of their players did not win. They still got double-digit points. So that is an impressive loss, an impressive comeback. We'll see if Jolt C can grace us with his presence here for an interview. Let me see. Find my app again to message. And what did you think, Isocles, as far as order, queue order, just everything deck list wise? It sure seemed impressive on for Jolt C's front there.
Yeah, I think it worked out extremely well. I think he got 3 matchups that he would have basically signed up for immediately if he had told him that he got to pick his matchups: the
Mm-hmm.
Guardian Druid against the Warrior, the Face Hunter against the Warlock, and the Secret Paladin against the Demon Hunter. I mean, that's just as perfect a string of matchups as you could possibly ask for. So, it's interesting from Mighty Business perspective that he picked 3 different decks. I often see people in conflicts after they lose with the deck, they just want to keep jamming it. I think it would have made sense to do that with the Warrior, given that it has pretty good matchups against the 2 other decks that Joel ended up playing, Hunter and Paladin. But maybe he just got a little gun shy after losing it with the first one and wanted to do something different, which is
Sure.
completely understandable reaction. But definitely worked out well for Joel C. Getting favorable matchups and then playing them well. So that's the formula for a sweep. So.
Joltsy is on his way into the chat here to give us a little interview. We do obviously finish a little early tonight, before 10 p.m. We also have a bit of a reschedule, which we'll get to in a few minutes here after the interview. So we'll be seeing a different stream match. Luckily, we had one on retainer for 10 p.m. One of the rare times we had a backup ready to go.
Sunday, being prepared.
I know,
You
I
didn't have
know.
to say that. You could have just been like, we always have a backup ready to go. So.
I mean, that's what I meant to say. Exactly. We always
Yep,
have the contingency plan, but no, it worked out in this case.
for sure.
All right, so we should be getting Jolt C in here. Jolt C, can you hear us?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Excellent. Well, congrats on the big win.
Well, thank you.
So, yeah, I'll let
so
Isocles
talk
take
to
us
me.
away.
Sure. So we'll start with what was your thought process in the lineup construction, particularly bringing the Guardian Druid, which has sort of fallen out of favor recently. And what was your thought process in building your lineup this week?
Honestly, after seeing the lineup, it was taking a look at Demon Hunter, Warlock, Warrior, and Paladin, and then realizing that the Guardian or Clown basically would beat the other 3/5 Paladin. So that's why I picked that deck primarily, because I knew it was strong against the other 3 decks I would go up against. So I was hoping that would be a good shot to at least give me a win off the bat.
I think it worked out. I think we were talking before you joined that if you could have picked the queue order for your opponent, it wouldn't have changed at all versus what he did. Were you surprised to see him switch decks each game, or what were you thinking there?
Yeah, the only thing that really worried me was the Paladin. I was thinking about game 2 about going into Secret Paladin, but if he came back with Rush Warrior, I knew that'd probably be the worst matchup for hopefully the night. Yeah, so I just threw the dice on the Hunter and to see what happens, and because I know the Hunter again, I was thinking it was lifesteal, so the Hunter I had I knew was decent around the other 3 matches, so I just took a gamble with it.
Paid off, worked out pretty well. So unfortunately, the team was not able to replicate your success, but it was a nice win for you getting on the board. So you've been a part of the No Pros here lineups before, right? Like this isn't your first session with them as far as being on the team. It's like Agent PWE and Pasca and all them.
Oh no, so yeah, it's my first year. It's my first season with them.
Gotcha.
Last season I played with Volkai.
Okay. Yeah. Volkai's good. So how do you like being a part of that team?
Good.
I know it's only been a weekend. You had a bye in the first week, but knowing Pasca and all the work that he does around building spreadsheets and data for the qualifiers and whatnot, like how does that impact the team prep for y'all?
Actually, he's good. He's good at making sure that we at least we have the knowledge and the data at our fingertips. Anytime anything comes new, like if Vicious Syndicate comes out or something, he's probably the first one to post everything. And my profession, I like data, so the more he can feed me, the better.
Nice. Yeah, the Hearthstone data has come a long way since Classic. It's pretty interesting to see actually how it's been used with the Classic now. So Pasca is definitely one of the premier people in the community for putting that together. So pretty good to see that paying off in the THL scene. If this week was a little bit rough for y'all, but I imagine that's going to pick up going forward, and nice to get a win to give y'all some momentum. So
yeah, good. Yeah, it's good. It's good to get the win and for the team, at least that way. I know I haven't looked today, but going into last night, I saw that we were down 3, so at least that way we can come up a little bit. Won't hit 500, but we get the points that we need.
we were talking before that even though the weekly outcome was decided, every point matters, and we've seen teams miss playoffs by a point here, a point there. So even when you're in a tough spot, getting those points is pretty massive. So congrats to you. Any other shout outs or comments on the match? Or
no, it's just it was a well played match. Actually, I do have Biz on the other line asking me. He's messaging me now, wondering what 100 deck I played. So, but besides that, I was following with him. That'll be about it.
Yeah, it's good. I like to see sportsmanship like that. Sometimes I've been on the losing end myself of tough matches, and it just wanted nothing to do with talking to my opponent after. But it's good to see that camaraderie and being able to interact a little bit and kind of glean things from each other. So it's like what we like to see in THL. So I'm glad to hear that. That's good stuff.
Thank you.
Donda, you got anything, or are you working on?
I was just working on behind the scenes stuff, and obviously, Joel C, I just wanted to thank you for offering up your match for stream this week. It's always appreciated, and to see you guys get a win. And this is going to be a tough conference, that Legacy Red conference, and to see you guys get 10 points in the loss, even though it is a loss, it's still very impressive. So I think we'll be seeing more from you guys as we go along the season.
Sounds good. All right, thank you.
Have a good night.
Thank you. Right.
Alrighty, so as we were mentioning before, we had a slight scheduling change. We have a hero match for you instead of our pro match, so it will not be Desharmo versus Lefty. Sorry, fans of Desharmo and Lefty. Hopefully one of you, or hopefully you are fans of one of Roadrunner or Clarity, because those are our two players. We're going to go ahead and swap that so you can see what we're dealing with instead. This is a hero match between Wherever I May Roam and Clarity's Inferno THL. So we saw Clarity last week. Roadrunner is my teammate, so I do have more inside info than I will admit on stream here to what the decks are. But I'll let you take the analysis here. Of course, we won't see any deck lists because now this is hero in a closed list format. But what do you think we might see here?
Yeah, I was all prepared because we went from my teammate to yours, going from the Desharmo to Roadrunner. So actually the interesting thing about that match is it was basically the exact same lineups that I saw in my match for the hero for the pro series. So I was going to have some very interesting insight there as to what I saw and what we expected. But so switching over to hero, so we've got Clarity and Roadrunner. So match up in the 5C for these two hero teams, and very much in the balance this week with only 2 matches having been played. Donde, you took a sweep yourself, and then Vinos Spumoni got a 3-1 win. So right now, Wherever I May Roam has a very slight 5-4 lead. So this match is very important to determine who is going to come out on top. We see a pretty similar lineup spread. Both players opting to go with the Hunter, Paladin, and Rogue, and then Clarity adding in the Demon Hunter, whereas Roadrunner is going with the Warrior. So it should be pretty interesting. I think similar to what we saw here in this Legacy match, I think Clarity would probably be well served to ban Warrior. I think it has a very good matchup spread against the classes that he brought, particularly not having that Warrior for himself. And from Roadrunner's side, I think the Paladin probably makes sense as the ban here. Could also maybe make a case for the Rogue, but I think Paladin has just sort of been one of the stronger classes, even after the nerf, that can always justify a ban if you're not 100% sure on what the ideal ban is. You can't really go wrong by banning Paladin. So we'll see what the players decide. You may already know what one of the players decided, but that would be my initial take on it. So.
Well, I did let them know that we're all set to get them in the game here. Go ahead and get their bans ready. So thank you everybody for sticking with us here. I know this is a little bit of a unexpected adjustment, but that's live casting for you.
Good reminder that I need to add Mr. Roadrunner to my friends list.
Yes, we always try to make sure, I guess behind the curtain here, we have everything ready prior to the show starting, but sometimes things go a little awry. So thanks for sticking with us, and thank you for those who have not only followed the channel but subbed to the channel, as it will continue to help us produce more and better content for you. So if you have a chance and you have your Prime Gaming subscription available, we would love it if you'd sub to the channel and support THL. You can also go ahead and take a look below where you're looking right now on Twitch and see our shop, the new shop with all sorts of merchandise to purchase if you are a fan of THL or a fan of specific teams within THL. A lot of good stuff there between mugs, masks, hoodies, shirts, and stickers as well. So go ahead and support your THL favorite team. Just support THL in general. Maka's put a lot of work into that site, so it's always appreciated. Thank you to everybody who sticks with us and subs with us and watches every week all the shows that we have.
I may have gotten a bubble message from one of the players as they're in the challenge screen and ready to
Okay.
share bands. So,
You popped in
yeah,
on their friends list and
I
stole it.
intercepted a bubble. So we fixed that and hopefully should be getting some ban information here shortly. I think it'd be interesting to get a data breakdown on the message used by people for the band screenshots. I think you probably see about maybe 60% bubble, maybe 20, 25% SS, and then a grab bag of other random stuff that people decide to throw in for their screenshots.
Of course.
To be,
I'm a strictly bubble person myself, just the word bubble with an exclamation mark to let you know how excited I am to be playing.
I like the exclamation mark. Not something that I have used myself, but might start to integrate it, particularly when you and I play in the future in Legacy. So,
well, now I'm not going to use it. I'm going to have to switch it up because
no.
I can't be predictable.
The
bubble meta. We need Pasca to get like a bubble meta breakdown sheet. This is the type of things that we need the data for.
Absolutely. Yep. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how it evolves and what kind of mind games people play with their bubble screenshot words. So, right, we should be getting that info pretty soon.
That is my hope.
What we get.
Yeah, as you mentioned, this is right now wherever I may roam is currently at 5-4. 2 matches into this this week. This is only the third of the series here, and wherever I may roam struggled pretty hard week 1. 5 points in week 1, already doubled this week, so that's always a good sign to see. This early in the week. Inferno also looking for more points. They got 10 in week 1. Both of these teams would be, on the outside of that top 4, top 5 area right now. So you're looking to not fall into like an 0-2 hole. So this is a pretty, I wouldn't say a must-win week for either team, but it makes things a lot more difficult if you start to fall further and further down the standings in a series that has historically been intensely competitive, at least in the last year or so.
Yep. We do have ban information. I got this one right, Donde.
Hey,
Roadrunner banned the Paladin for Clarity, and Clarity banned the Warrior of Roadrunner. So you win some, you lose some. And that one felt good. I think I got that one right. So. All right, go ahead and give them the go-ahead.
I'm sorry, what did you said that Roadrunner's Warrior is banned?
Yes, okay. And Clarity's Paladin is banned.
Got it. All right. Should see that on screen.
And I gave them the go-ahead, so we should be seeing eyeballs in the friends list momentarily.
Fantastic.
And can launch into our second series of the night.
And Roadrunner...
always enjoy casting Hero.
Oh yeah, no, I love Hero. I love to play in Hero. I mean, regardless of how competitive it is, like I just like the thought of the last year standing format. The queue ordering is so crucial. The counter decks are so crucial. It really lets you get unique with your lineups, and I think that's a fantastic thing.
Yep, agreed. So yeah, speaking of queue order, it'll be interesting to see what these players start with. Wouldn't shock me to see Roadrunner just lead out the Paladin. Knowing it is a strong deck that is somewhat difficult to counter sometimes. That seems like a pretty safe bet for Clarity. I think Hunter makes sense for him. We'll see what he opts for, but I wouldn't be surprised to see him lead up the Hunter here. 1 for 2.
And Roadrunner is on the bottom of the screen here as we go into match 1.
So Clarity opting for partially Hunter. It's the Demon Hunter version, but So we see a Panthara, we see Studies and Chaos Strike. So I wonder if he's also running a Soul Demon Hunter Lisk, similar to what we saw with Mighty Biz in the last series, or if he's going with more of the mid-range no Soul version, tops out at Green Rag, and tries to just do as much damage as possible without trying to heal himself along the way. From Roadrunner's perspective, we see Secrets once again with the Crossroads Gossiper and Oh My Yogg in hand. So
I'd like to say I have not heard Green Rag yet as a term for the Illidari Inquisitor, and I love it.
oh, interesting.
I'm
Yeah.
100% on board. I'm stealing it.
Yeah, there you go. It's definitely not an original thought by me. I've heard it on different casts and analyses. So, but yeah, so Clarity with the nice choice of a Sigil Runner right away. Gets a card draw, a little pressure on the board. Battlefield's interesting, and Mankrik, so this could be a very aggressive list.
Yeah, usually when you play that Illidari Studies on turn 1, that's what you're looking for, is that Crimson Sigil Runner.
Mm-hmm. There's a Roadrunner picking up the sword, a great draw on the coin to be able to play that and start to pull the secrets out, especially with that Gossiper in hand to take advantage of it. So nice start for him. Clarity, not hesitating at all, just dropping the Battle Fiend and
rapid fire,
power, which was pretty good. So we'll see. No Noble Sacrifice, at least on the board yet. So
correct, just an advantage there.
So this is a little bit of an awkward turn for Roadrunner. Doesn't have a meaning to buff for that Hand of a Doll. Obviously, opting for the sword first means that you won't have an option, but you could play the Righteous Protector and the other secret if you wanted, or you could Hero Power, neither of which feels super impactful here against the Battle Fiend, but I do kind of like playing out the 1/1 with the secret, and then ensuring they played it first before attacking, so that he wouldn't get stuck with the extra mana from that play. And so we see the typical 3 secrets: Venge, Oh My Yogg, and Galloping Savior. Clarity doesn't care about secrets right now because he's just playing minions and attacking. So
yeah, still does a bit of a speed bump in the way of this Battle Fiend hitting face.
Mm-hmm.
And at least gave Clarity a little bit of pause there, making sure you have to order correctly in case of a Noble Sacrifice. Second Hammer, the Naru, is not ideal on this turn here. Probably just gonna have to play the Gossiper, I would imagine. Unless you can't Hero Power here. You got to play the Gossiper.
I think he's going to.
He's gonna Hero Power.
Yeah, I think with that Gossiper, I think it's correct to play the Gossiper, but I can definitely understand not wanting to, just because it just immediately dies on board. And there's a chance that your opponent does what Clarity did and just plays into it.
Oh my!
Triggers the way up. Wow,
that's incredible.
Right to pick up.
Yeah, that is the Illidari, the Green Rag, as it were, in hand, discounted thanks to Demonic Studies.
Is a massive random pickup from Oh My Yogg, Illidari Studies into Demonic Studies into the Inquisitor is just about as good a outcome as you could hope for if you're Clarity. So now Roadrunner has so now he opts to play the Gossiper, so he's looking to see if Clarity maybe plays poorly into the secrets, procs something before trading off the Gossiper, but I think this is pretty clearly from Clarity's perspective. You just want to kill this Gossiper first and deal with the Avenge proc on the other minion. So Roadrunner kind of awkward spot with the way his hand shaped up, opting not to play the Gossiper last turn and gets about the same result from it this turn. So Clarity continues just to go face with the Battle Fiend and other minions. Pretty good position for him.
Second Gossiper to hand here for Roadrunner. Not going to be immediately impactful. Really looking to get rid of this Battle Fiend, and it's just survived forever.
Well, interesting. He opts to not play the Gossiper again. I mean, it's kind of the same situation we just talked about. Like, it just dies right away, and you just really feel like you want to get value. And wow, Clarity hitting the Angry Mankrik very early on. This is going just very smoothly.
And the I-Beam, too. Oh, man, he's just a wealth of options. And actually, gonna use the Fury. Get a double pump on that Battle Fiend. And this is going to be 5 health left for Roadrunner here on turn 6.
Yeah. And he will have at least a bit of a block with the Hammer of the Naru, but that is not going to be anywhere close to enough. to stop this onslaught. And so everything just went perfectly there for Clarity. Paladin kind of ricked the opening hand. I don't know that playing the Gossipers instead of hero powering at those stages would have changed the math here for Roadrunner, but yeah, I think Demon Hunter just hit everything it wanted, and very dominating win for Clarity in game 1.
So this being Hero Series, we're going to see that Demon Hunter come back again. So Roadrunner knows what he's facing now, knows it's an aggressive Demon Hunter. And what do you think he will queue up in response? Because that Paladin's gone. It's not coming back.
Yeah. No, I think the Paladin would have been his best choice against the Demon Hunter. So this is kind of one of those tough situations that pops up in Hero when you queue a deck that is ostensibly your best answer to one of your opponent's decks, and then they beat you with that deck, or you otherwise lose that deck, then you're kind of in a tough spot. I think this might be the Rogue, potentially. I think Rogue, depending on what type of Rogue it is, has sort of the ability to win any matchup. It can just pull off some crazy shenanigans, whether or not it runs the card shenanigans, and just kind of pull you back into the series. So I wouldn't be shocked to see the look, it's a Hunter. So Roadrunner disagrees with me and thinks that the Face Hunter is a better choice. Picking up Kodabama right away, but obviously not keeping that. You want to get Mankrik first. Once again, not the best hand.
Yeah, really not a great start.
Yeah. Tracking. The Pack Runner is a pretty good option here. Normally you like to have it before you play tracking, but at least it's something you can play next turn.
Yeah, I think that's the plan here, is that it's something to play, and it's something that's almost like a soft taunt.
Yeah, exactly. That's definitely what it feels like.
And if it sticks.
Right, so again, I was about to make this point. He made the choice last turn to hold back the Gossiper, trying to figure out a way to play it when it was more likely to get value, and it looks like he's doing the same thing with the Pack Runner. I think it's more justifiable with the Pack Runner because the impact it has is immediate, whereas the Gossiper is more of a reactive thing that your opponent can still probably play around. So I don't mind this.
Oh, the Arcane Shot, though, is exactly what he was looking for. That's rewarded for holding on to the Pack Runner.
Yeah, it definitely has a much higher ceiling to keep the Pack Runner in hand, and we get to see it pay off right away. So Clarity does have the answer to it with the I-Beam in the Outcast position, followed by, I guess he's going to go with the Battle Fiend again, just to get this ramping up. It worked so well last time, let's just do it again, and save some of these other cards for future use.
I kind of would like to see Clarity use the Battle Fiend into the I-Beam on the left side of the hand, because that other I-Beam was always going to be Outcast on the back end of the hand. And I get that you're trying to clear stuff out for Skull of Gul'dan, which is certainly reasonable. But I think that ordering would have just been what I would have done there. But the play itself was correct. And now Roadrunner does pick up that Warsong Wrangler into Trampling Rhino. He's got both Rhinos in hand.
Yeah, the Rhinos are going to be pretty massive here, especially since they're both buffed. So Clarity opting to just dump everything out in front of the Skull. He won't be able to play it next turn, but it at least gets it into position that he can do kind of whatever he wants next turn and have that Skull ready to go either turn 6 or at whatever point he feels he needs it. So, but I think we're going to just see a Rhino here taking out this Battle Fiend. And then, oh, okay, so opting to keep more health on the Rhino than the Wrangler. That makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely.
The Rhino is definitely a bigger threat, so keeping the health total up on that is pretty good.
So we're going to see Clarity has some choices now.
Yeah. I like just developing the Willblades here. You don't really have that much of a better choice. Being able to follow up with the Fellscream Blast and Hero Power to clear off a Rhino is pretty clean. It was a good play by Clarity. He has to follow up with either the Skull next turn, which is the easy choice, or Relentless Pursuits into the Bladed Lady if he feels he needs to push back on this board. For example, if Roadrunner opts to play the second Rhino.
I was going to say, once he finds out what's probably happening this turn is Rhino Dose, it's going to answer the question of what Clarity will want to do next turn.
Yeah. Nice pickup with the always rough up. And right behind it.
I think he might have preferred it to be the taunt.
Just
so
to
protect the Rhino, yeah.
Yeah. So either way, it would have gotten cleaned up because the Blade Lady would have just taking it out. But you are correct. Like the
Right.
ideal scenario would have been the taunt there, just in case.
Yeah, so effectively it's going to do the same thing. This Bladed Lady's going to kill it, take 2 damage, and you're still going to see the Rhino fall. So really no difference here. And now you're in a situation as a face hunter where you've played both Rhinos. Both Rhinos in your opponent's at 25 health. That's not a great feeling, I would imagine.
And the other problem too is that you're running low on cards in your hand, but 2 of them are quick shot, which means you're only getting value from 1 of them.
Right.
So that's unfortunate. And the other unfortunate thing is that this Skull for Clarity that he's been sitting on for a turn or 2 is now fully online with a whole bunch of very cheap cards. So looking pretty good from the Demon Hunter's perspective for right now. This is a matchup where the Hunter certainly can overwhelm the Demon Hunter early, but Clarity has been able to stave off the early aggression, deal with both Rhinos, and still maintain a pretty healthy life total. So has to like where he's at right now.
There's tracking, which is at least some options here, and Rinling's Rifle is almost a no-brainer decision.
Yeah, it's the best of those options for sure. Lets you clear off this 2/2 and pick a hopefully impactful secret, potentially a freezing trap. Or you can just opt to go face, which is totally fine.
So he's seen 1 Warblade so far, both eye beams. That means there's probably not a whole lot of healing left in this deck. So effectively, what you're damaging is going to stick, and that happened very quickly. What was the secret that was so Snake Trap?
Looks like a big Snake Trap, yeah. So anticipating that 1, his minions are going to be traded into, and 2, that the Demon Hunter, because it's not Soul, at least from what you can tell, not running any sort of AoE whatsoever. I mean, Immolation Aura is maybe a possibility. I guess Warglaze Bad Mouth counts as AoE to some extent, but can't deal with a whole bunch of snakes. So I think that's a pretty good option for Roadrunner, just to put out as much board pressure as possible here.
And a good holdback by Clarity, though, recognizing it could have been pack tactics, in which case you'd want to use those Warblades on the 3/3 that popped out. But he gets Bladed Lady. It's discounted, not to the full discount, but it was discounted via Skull.
Yeah, so we'll clean up most of these snakes. I mean, doing about as good as the deck can against this board, so taking a little extra damage, but doing a decent job of cleaning things up. And now we're looking at a lot of damage from Roadrunner's hand.
I like Roadrunner's turn to going face, knowing that everything is pretty much sticking from this point, and it is a race.
Right. Yeah, and I don't. This has to. Oof. I don't like.
Yeah, I don't like that either.
I wonder if he's going to trade his minions into it now. He's not. So why did the quick shot? Was that maybe just a misclick? Or maybe
yeah, because he'd be within 2. He'd be 1 hero power away from winning. There's Freezing Trap. Yeah. I mean, Freezing Trap is a great pickup, and yeah, that just makes it look like why did you attack the minion now instead? So yeah, I think it might have been a misclick.
We'll chalk up to a misclick because I think it's at this point it's likely he's gonna be able to find that last bit of damage, but it would have been nice to only have to click the hero power for that last bit of damage in this situation.
Assuming a minion lives here, which it looks likely to be with the Freezing Trap, you're looking at 2 Adorable Infestations, well, one of which is thrown away by a tracking. So you're looking at that, a second Arcane Shot, the second Demon Companion is gone as well, so Wound Prey is
Grande tracking changed.
What? Oh my goodness! Oh, it changed. It's just to discover now. Oh, okay, never mind.
No, you're good.
Ooh, what year is it?
Yeah, exactly. He's been playing Classic too much. A nice pickup for Clarity with the Ashfall and being able to eat the Freezing Trap, which makes it still usable next turn and be able to push a lot of damage. So he does put Roadrunner on the need to find lethal this turn, and he does.
Oh my goodness.
Wow. So fortunately for Roadrunner, he does not get punished for misclicking the quick shot, and is able to tie the series up at 1 game apiece and take out Clarity's Demon Hunter.
By the way, I appreciate you not letting me continue to ramble about tracking for longer than I already had.
Oh, you're good.
That's a good friendship right there. So
absolutely.
I will give you.
You'll pay me back in kind.
I would say I will give you 10,000 channel points to a point on your next Saloon appearance.
Thank you.
It's payback.
I appreciate that. So, alright, so for Clarity now, with the Hunter and the Rogue to deal with this Hunter, I think it's going to be a Hunter Mirror now. I don't think he wants to intentionally queue a Rogue into a Hunter. It's what's going to happen for the loser of this game. That's all they're going to be left with. So I think this very well could decide the series. I like a Hunter against a Rogue right now in the current meta. So this is a very important match, and we'll see whose face hunter goes more face. Clarity keeping the Renlands rifle in his mulligan, and having a pretty good start with going with the Intrepid Initiate.
Yeah, I don't hate that with the
Yeah.
construction of his hand already having the Intrepid and
Mhm.
spell to activate the next turn. It really seems like it makes a lot of sense. Well, he's
Yeah.
gonna coin.
No, this is right. It's
Yep.
Intrepid into coin, and probably hope you get a taunt here, but it looks like he got the charger, so making the trade just to give him the board priority at least for a moment. Roadrunner immediately slamming down the Felmaw, which he is definitely going to hope is a base maw.
Yeah, I would have liked maybe a thought at the Adorable Infestation because you could have used that to
Mhm.
pump your 1/1 up, take out the 3/2, and still play a little bit of board. Not a ton, but it is a line that is an option there.
Yeah, I think see, so Clarity should have traded into the 1/1 there because of that double infestation.
Yeah,
So maybe yeah,
it ends
Roadrunner's
up paying
gonna
off. Yeah.
right. He's gonna be okay with this, but I think and again, Mankrik just makes sense to play. So they just both just slam everything face.
this is
Uh,
this is a
they,
face race.
they have decided on the nature of this matchup, and this is what's happening. So Clarity getting the Wolpertinger off of the Scavenger's Engineer is really great in this situation to have immediate board presence. And yeah, at this point you're committed, so I don't know if we're seeing any trading unless the Space Mod decides not to live
Okay,
up to
where
its
does he
name.
go? He hits a pretty good target.
Mhm.
And tracking
Yeah.
is the pull here. So, I mean, there is a way for Roadrunner to clear a majority of this board. Knife Vendor is not the way
Wow.
that happens.
Oh my gosh.
This is
Gold.
aggressive.
That is wow. I don't even know where to go.
I don't know.
That's a crazy
I
play.
don't know.
I mean, I respect it. In the trade there, actually makes sense too. Getting a value trade, pushing this damage, you kind of forced Clarity into having to value trade back. Piercing shots, awesome card here in the situation, and that knife ender is probably going to come back to haunt. It's not something you wanted to play this early in the game because it just solidifies in Clary's mind what he's going for. So
Could take the Rhino. Might as well take the
Yeah.
Wrangler into Rhino.
yeah, I think that's right.
Yeah, absolutely.
'Cause you couldn't play the Rhino this turn, so you might as well get it ready for next turn and buff it.
And piercing
Another
shot
piercing
off the
shot.
top.
Oh my goodness. So that sets him down to 7, and you can track him to see what else you can find. Almost okay. No, not really good
Yeah,
options
I
there
mean,
with the double
at this
infestation.
point, Felmaw's not gonna hit anything by the time this game ends. I would imagine. This is like a
Probably not.
two turn game at this point. Can Roadrunner do 24 damage at the time? Clarity can
Yeah.
do 7, and
Right.
I
Because
don't.
Clarity has the scrap shot's not enough. Doesn't change the clock. It might just be rifle hero power ×2. Looking for a potentially a freezing trap just to stop some of this damage from Roadrunner side. So we've got 12 on board, along with
2 quick shots
6
of
in
tracking.
hand. So he's just 1 damage off lethal next turn.
I kind of would
If
like
this
to.
isn't explosive.
Yeah, I would have liked to see the Adorable Infestation go on the 3/4.
Right, just to get that last damage.
Yeah.
That would have been enough. That would have given him the lethal setup this turn.
But now with the
Clarity does
explosive,
get
it's
the
lethal the
explosive.
other way.
It was always going to be lethal the other way for Clarity.
Oh,
like,
because scrap
Roadrunner
shots in
needed-
hand, yeah. Well, I mean,
Right, he needed
as
to
far as
defend this
Roadrunner
turn.
could know, it was not lethal yet,
Right.
but yes.
Right,
yes.
right. Yeah, he does get the wound prey. Is that enough? Let's see, 11, 14, 17, 19, 20. Still 1 damage off.
If the Adorable
Tracking
Infestation
could
went on to the
potentially-
3/4 last turn, he'd have
And
had
he
it.
doesn't have mana to tracking into something. So, yeah, this is going to be game 3 to Clarity. Really close, really fast. The knife ender, crazy. But yeah, doesn't quite pay off for Roadrunner. Finds the arcane shot, but still, just that little bit of damage. So definitely unfortunate choice to put the Adorable Infestation on the Rhino, which wasn't attacking. So congrats to Clarity on a game 3 victory. So now, as I mentioned, Roadrunner is down to the Rogue going into a Hunter. And depending on what type of rogue it is, might have maybe a little bit of play into it. But rogue not having healing and Hunter having so much damage from hand to avoid all of the board control that rogue is able to put out makes this a very difficult matchup for the rogue. So we'll see what Roadrunner is able to pull off here. But right now, the numbers favor Clarity in taking this game 4.
And here we go, seeing the Face Hunter again. Roadrunner does have early game options here in that Brain Freeze, Octobot. Probably not going to keep the Secret Passage, I would imagine. But there are some options here to deal with some of this early game that Clarity will inevitably have.
Yeah, so Clarity probably keeps the Wolpertinger and the Double Infestation over back the other two. Roadrunner, you probably keep the Octobot. I don't know if, I guess you do keep the Brain Freeze just because it's so good here, but you're not really doing much on one anyway, so
Right.
maybe it does make sense to try to find something here.
Picks up the Aqua, but he's going first, so...
Right. Yeah, that makes it a little bit awkward. I think you play one of these, probably the Aqua, just to have present on the board, but opts not to, so basically just gives the initiative over to Clarity to immediately put out some threats. But that being said, this does at least give him the opportunity to clear 2 of these minions with Og Merchant into Prize Plunder, which doesn't feel too bad in the situation. See if he opts to do that, or if he just wants to put down the Octobot just to be annoying. So.
Yeah, odds are the Octobot is going to be able to get the Frenzy off since it is not facing anything on board that can kill it in one go, and nothing in Clarity's deck would do that either.
Yeah. Yeah, there's an argument to make about trading off the Frenzy from the Octobot before your opponent draws another card. Unfortunately for Roadrunner, he drew the Shadow Step, which is not ideal. But he's just going to go ahead and step it again, get it back on the board. This probably means he's playing Swindle. We'll see where else he goes with this turn. Try to get a few more discounts. Brain Freeze, a nice pickup. Prize Plunder, a nice
second
pickup.
Prize Plunder, yeah.
So he can just go ahead and clear this board out and take control of the early game and kind of put Clarity on the back foot now.
Yeah. Not a bad turn of events there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's worked out pretty well. So a few more targets in the way of Face Moth, so it can't live up to its name.
So Tour Guide is a card, I don't think we saw that last game in Clarity's deck.
Yeah. Yep, so a little bit of an awkward turn for Clarity since he can't spend all his mana or make that good a use of the Tour Guide. I mean, getting extra hero powers is definitely helpful, like we said. Rogue can't heal generally, so this works out pretty well, but unfortunately for the Rogue, sort of limited on options. Getting a Tour Guide himself is probably not what he was looking for out of an SMN Cleave.
Yeah, something like a Piercing Shot or a Trampling Rhino is probably what he's looking for.
Yeah, I think this is just going to be a really passive turn for him, and none of these cards you want to play right now. I mean, I understand doing this just to put stuff on the board. I think I do like this. You don't want to get into a completely reactive game against the Hunter because that's just a losing battle. So putting out as much pressure on the board as possible, knowing the Hunter can't heal on its own, might be a good path to victory for Roadrunner. So I do like that play.
Yeah, it ends up making sense here, and now you're looking at a Brain Freeze being able to take out this 5/3 pretty smoothly, but you are also looking at Trampling Rhino being humongous next turn now.
Right.
Ooh, field Contact.
Big draw.
Big draw does have the combo card with Brain Freeze.
Yep, absolutely. That was probably the best card in Roadrunner's deck in this situation, just to get him some gas going forward.
Oh, speaking of gas.
Yeah. So you probably save that for now. You don't want to play it with no mana. You don't want to. You could probably play your Wicked Stab. I guess there's no really reason to play your Wicked Stab because it's free. So at this point, just attack and dagger up again, even though dagger's free. This is an okay situation to float 2 mana.
Honestly, I could see not even daggering up here because you've got another charge of the dagger, and you can have another dagger whenever you want it.
Right. Yeah.
He doesn't see it that way though. He's gonna go ahead and dagger now.
Yeah. No, that makes sense, but this is okay. So Rhino comes down to crush the dreams of Field Contact surviving. There's a lot of damage
Oh,
back.
that's another fantastic pickup. I think you have to play that. I think you go Wicked Stab, Brain Freeze here on the 8-5 before you rip the Secret Passage. Just going to go ahead and Brain Freeze first.
Interesting. Yeah. So is there a possibility, let's see, Wicked Stab killing 4? He probably wouldn't have gotten lethal.
Second Passage.
Mm-hmm.
Second
Another
stab.
stab. Yeah. Yeah. So these are fine. Probably just played out the Foxy. Play out the stab, okay. That works. Just to get that damage out of your deck. Yeah, so he's going to be threatening lethal now with the stab in his hand.
Yeah, absolutely.
Already. You only need 1 damage to stick in order to have this stab in the game. And I don't think Clarity's going to be able to answer this. Certainly not with anything in his hand, and I don't know if there's anything in his deck. He may not see it that way, but yeah, I think congrats to Roadrunner for pulling off what I thought was pretty unfavorable.
Yeah, very tough matchup, but yeah, like you said, he gets there, and Rogue does rogue things sometimes, and you know, that field contact I think was the bailout card that Roadrunner needed.
I think he did extremely well that game, recognizing the position he was in, being able to take advantage of the fact that the Hunter really had a bad hand, a bad start after the Wolverine Jr. play, just dumping his hand out off the board and just being the aggressor. It was well played. So now we end with a Rogue Mirror.
Rogue Mirror.
Fine.
Yeah, we'll have to see if it's a true mirror. I mean, we saw Clarity on stream last week, and I'm trying to remember what Rogue he brought.
I couldn't tell you because my memory does not go back a week. I'm sorry.
You also were not casting with me last week.
I wasn't casting, but I was able to catch some of the stream. I still participate and teach elements.
I appreciate your support.
Does look like we are getting a secret road from Clarity.
Yes, I think that seems familiar as to what Clarity brought last week.
Yeah, Roadrunner was just on the Field Contact Go Nuts Miracle Rogue.
Miracle Rogue, yep.
So, right, so this will be interesting how this plays out. I know Secret Rogue has been getting a lot of traction lately. A deck that I haven't played that much, but certainly one that can strike fear in the heart of any opponent. The Blackjack Stunner is making a fearsome comeback into the meta.
Good pickup there, the Octobot.
Yeah, exactly. Especially with that Field Contact in hand and several cheap already combo activators. Roadrunner is going to have himself a very miraculous turn here shortly. See, so the one thing for Roadrunner is he doesn't have a way at the moment.
Yes, he does. Of course he does.
This. But so now I think you just go for it. You Field Contact, you coin, you Prize Plunder, your.
Do you Shadow Step the contact after you're done?
I think it depends on what you pick up. But if you're playing the Field Contact now, you're 100% coining Prize Plunder and then playing both Wand Thieves and then just having yourself a grand old time. I think you want to. Okay, so he's going to take it a little bit slower and not use the Prize Plunder himself. So this might just end up being a Shadow Step on the Wand Thief, and he leaves the Field Contact on the board just to be dealt with, which I think is sort of a middle ground. I would have liked to have just kind of gone nuts that turn.
I agree.
And just put out a whole bunch of stuff and been as obnoxious as possible. But this isn't bad.
He's going to value the draw instead here and get Wand Thief down again.
No, I think that's right. I think you're
Evocation.
Yeah, once you committed to not playing Prize Plunder on your Octobot, then I think the step on the Wand Thief definitely made a lot of sense. So, Clarity, basically recognizing the immense need to kill this Field Contact, and just plays it out this way. Plays Swindle behind it,
and he'll be able to clear the Octobot as well.
Right, without proccing the discount. So worked out pretty well. So that's another reason why I would have liked to have seen Roadrunner activate his own Field Contact, just because there's always that possibility that you're not going to have it activated for you. So getting Mankrik down, Ruined Orb looks really good here. Ice Barrier kind of sometimes makes sense, just because you don't have any other healing and it could be a good solution. But I think in this position, you just want to take the Ruined Orb.
Yeah, I would say Fair Game is the only one that doesn't make sense there, because odds are strong that you're going to be getting hit in the face most turns the rest of this game. So yeah, I like the Ruined Orb pick there.
So Clarity playing out Secret, probably Wand Thief. Hope we get something to help deal with this board. Flame Strike, probably.
Really
I
high
think
value
Ice
stuff, yeah.
Barrier is good too. These are good options. I don't think I want to take the Deep Freeze.
Well, Clarity
Just because
disagrees.
it's just hard to get to that point to play it. I mean, you're playing, I guess, what's going to end up being the more defensive deck in this situation. And so I guess he'll have an opportunity to use it. So we'll see if that ends up paying off. But it actually, I mean, it does make sense as being the most development out of that. Flame Strike is a nice answer to certain things, and Ice Barrier is some passive healing. But more I think about it, I think Deep Freeze does make sense because it gives you minions on the board, which could be difficult for your opponent to deal with.
I'd like to point out too that you expressed dismay earlier on that we didn't see any mage, and yet both of these players are basically mages at this point.
Yep, absolutely. So I love to see it. Always a fun time to cast the variety show that is the mage class these days, and enjoying this for sure.
Remember, I think going through the plan in his head to try and see how he can get rid of this Octobot in a way that will not trigger the Octobot. Plundering into the 1/4 is probably the way to start. I know he's going to activate it. He's going to say, I don't care. I'm over it.
It's another point in the favor of taking Deep Freeze is because you can discount it, get it out one turn faster. I think this is probably the Janus play. Anytime you play Janus, you're playing Janus. So
do we see? I
see
think
what
this
we
is
do with
probably the Vanessa Van Cleef. And wow, these are two really good 5-drops.
So if Clarity follows it up with the Ambush, which he might not because of the Hanar, but yeah, it would have been interesting. So it's probably not something because Vanessa Van Cleef's a new card. Not something that a lot of people think about when playing against Rogue. So it doesn't surprise me that that ended up being the choice. So let's see. He can grab the Janus for a future turn, which makes a lot of sense.
I mean, if he recognizes here that the taunt is most likely, and it is not an illusion. The 5/5 is the illusion. He could have just Aug Merchanted right onto the 5/5.
This is pretty massive playing evocation and then getting a whole bunch of cheap stuff.
Also very good. Yeah.
To
Devolving missiles. Oh, I like double devolving missiles too. Just catching everything. I'm not sure why you wouldn't play the devolving first though.
I think it's always a risky thing against Janus to play devolving because there's a decent chance that you not only hit the Janus, you also hit the illusion minion,
Fair.
and then give yourself a whole lot more garbage to deal with. So I don't mind that. And then maybe not even playing devolving. He might play it just because.
Yeah.
And playing Font of Power for sure. But you can also just clear this up. I mean, there's not really much point. Definitely should play the font. That's just an oversight.
Yeah, no harm in playing the font whatsoever there. Just get a minion.
Yeah. So now let's see what Hanar is able to do to pull Clarity back into this game, knowing that Roadrunner's coming back to Janus. Snake Trap is not bad. You've seen your opponent ignore your minions. So yeah, Galloping Savior is always good against a rogue.
Fantastic.
Granted, you know that the rogue's next turn is probably not going to be 3 cards. But this is pretty good. Pretty good secret so far.
Reckoning, interesting option here. It's the cheapest and playable right now.
Absolutely. Yeah. And then I think kind of like Explosive as well. Looking at what the board is showing for Roadrunner.
Yeah, it can't be played this turn, however. But yes, I think a good decision. Deck of Lunacy. Not going to be played this game, but yes, Evocation. One good Evocation deserves another. But we're going to see a Secret Passage.
I don't know.
Nothing to see.
Yeah, I think that was a mistake, and I think you realized that was a mistake.
Yeah, I mean, did he just see 0 mana and think that that's the time,
sure.
or he just wanted to, I think maybe he just wanted to visit the cards in his deck just to see how they were doing.
That's as good as explanation as I'm gonna have for it. So, all right, now Roadrunner gets to navigate a Christmas tree of reasonable proportions. The Mankrik is going to die this turn.
Freezing Trap. Well, honestly, it might not. If you Freezing Trap it back to hand, in which case you might not be mad about that. Void Drinker, Derailed Coaster.
Yeah. So we see an ambush
Coaster
out.
Coaster will be the illusion. That obviously makes sense. Now, how heavy are you prioritizing getting rid of well, pick the Cunning Claw, getting rid of the Hanar, because I feel like it's one of those cards that you don't
You
want to
have to
leave
kill
up.
it.
Yeah, you don't want to leave
Yeah.
up. We're going to see the Octobot go back to hand here.
Mhm.
So you can go ahead and get rid of the Hanar and get rid of the ambush as well.
Right. So I think that sequence of secret activations was pretty good for clarity overall. Yeah, you'd rather have Mankrik die than get bounced to hand. A 4-mana Octobot is fine. Like, you'll probably see it get played again just for
Yeah,
lack of what
especially with a
else to
low
do.
amount of
But
cards in hand, too. It's not getting a ton of value.
yeah. And I get the idea behind playing the explosive trap here. It answers this board pretty well other than the Void Drinker, which you are now taking care of for yourself. And Tenwu, in order to play your One Thief again, is it's fine. Grand Finale, I think. Maybe Primordial Studies to pair with your stabs, but getting 8/8 for 8 is perfectly reasonable. See
And
what
another bear off.
yeah, wow. So Clarity, Roadrunner needs to attack first, and probably just fully assuming this is Explosive Trap because Clarity threw the Wicked
Right.
Stab into the Void Drinker. So
Yeah,
I
I think that's the that's you've got to recognize that here and make your trades, even though it doesn't feel right. It is right.
yeah, and you can always trade as efficiently as possible. Trade Vanessa into the
Yep.
2/2, and then clear off the totem, and then try to send 4 damage face. And if it's not,
Oh no!
oh no,
Oh no! That's
is he
going to
not going
be
to attack?
very upsetting.
He left the illusion on the Rhino, so I don't think he's going to attack now. Okay,
Ooh.
that's as much of a salvage as you can make, but yeah, it's
Yeah.
unfortunate. So
Now
interesting.
here's the other thing too. You can pop that Octobot down knowing Explosive Trap and just self-activate it using the explosive.
You can. It's true. So I like this from Clarity going ahead and just playing out the Deep Freeze, and I mean, just because of the way that turn went, you know that Roadrunner is kind of on into your shenanigans with the Explosive Trap, so you still kind of have to do it. But yeah, these Wild are just gonna get traded off. It's a little bit of I guess, a head fake on putting the
Mankrik.
oh wow, it's gonna proc the Explosive Trap.
Oh, before he can
That's a
attack,
disaster.
the
Yeah.
punish continues.
Oh wow, that's unfortunate. Yeah, so now he's not going to be able to answer these 3/6s. So this,
So
yeah, cutting
I
class.
will say though, he's getting close to. Oh, there's a burn plan here because now you've got
Absolutely.
double Wicked Stab that are going
Yeah.
to be 6 damage next turn, and then Alex Straza the turn after
So
that.
this turn you just play Octobot because if Octobot gives you a discount, then you can play everything next turn and it's lethal. But
Right.
it looks like he's just going to go ahead and set up the lethal anyway. I think.
Yeah, because well, I mean,
But
here's the thing: if he uses that now, that second stab, he's going to trigger the Galloping Savior. So
well, he's going to trigger it anyway. Yeah, I would have. Man, that was a tough sequence from Roadrunner. I think I do like playing the Octobot there instead, just to trigger everything, because now Clarity's going to heal himself and probably freeze the Mankrik and send this 3/4 face, and then Alex himself. And that makes it very difficult. Like, if you hadn't played the stab from Roadrunner's perspective, then there's a good chance that Clarity
Right.
doesn't make this play.
yeah, it's
to
about
protect
obscuring
himself.
information for sure.
Mhm.
Right.
Yeah. So Kazakus is a nice pickup, though. A little bit of a salvage. He's able to get a good 5-mana golem here, which I think is very likely the best play in the situation. I think you're looking for maybe rush, summon a copy, or deal 3 damage to multiple minions. A couple good options here. Lifesteal's not bad. Divine Shield's pretty good. Stealth is okay, but
Yeah.
I think alls are good. And then
Ooh,
not
big
what
buffs.
you wanted.
I
Did he
mean-
go for a 10? He went for a 10. I didn't even catch that.
Oh yeah, wow, he did. Yes, I was gonna say 4/4s, not what you normally see because the 5-drop, so you can pair up and play at that immediate turn is normally what you do. Oh, and this is, yeah, I don't know.
I think there comes a point in a game when either you've done something that you immediately regret, or have something that you thought was going to be good get punished by the one thing that could have punished it, where you just kind of go into like panic mode in a way. And I think that's kind of what we're seeing from Roadrunner a little bit, that he was so close to being able to set up illegal or set up something crazy. And then because of the sort of half measure that he took, proccing the secret and giving away the burn plan, that now he's just kind of scrambling for a way to salvage this game. And it's kind of throwing it back into Clarity's favor now. Not the best 5-mana golem here. Poisonous
No.
and drop cards is, I think he's looking for the deal 3
Right, I
to
think so too.
minions. So, which is a good gamble, but unfortunately not the highest impact golem. So we're gonna see, yeah, I think we're gonna see the 10-mana golem now from Roadrunner. Draw 4 cards and hope that gets him there. But he's already played most of his burn. He's got Alex in hand. I guess he'd be looking for the other Shadow Step, the 10 Wu, looking for that combo to end this game.
I mean, are you looking for? Are you? Because here's the thing. Now that 5/5 with poison is going to live, and yes, it has Divine Shield. Well, there's Shadow Step.
I think you're okay with that. Like, you're not necessarily like, if the 10-10 lives, hooray. But like its value is in drawing these cards, because you're gonna be able to clear off the 3/3. So you're gonna have to force Clarity to find another way to pop the Divine Shield. Okay, so I take that back. He's going to allow the 3/3 to live and use it to discount. I probably would have still made that trade with the Octobot into the 3/3 and
Right.
then killed the minion, just to give the highest likelihood chance that this 10-10 lives. But Clarity just picked up the Blackjack Stunner, which is going to be a fantastic answer to this 10-10, and basically render it unplayable. Actually, completely render it unplayable unless there's another Octobot somewhere, Step or whatnot. But
We've seen both Octobots get played, so unless it generates from somewhere.
yeah, 10 was on Octobot.
True.
Alright, let's see what else Clarity can do here. Probably Mankrik. Clear up his board. Maybe dagger down the 1/1. Finish off the 3/2. And send whatever else space that he wants to. But we are, again, very close to a burn plan for Roadrunner. Unfortunately, he did not draw 10 Wu to get discounted. If he had, this would be the game. But unfortunately, he's going to be 1 card off and staring down what he knows, if he remembers, the Alex is in hand, because we've seen Clarity bounce it back to his hand.
Right.
This is a lethal setup for Clarity's. So
might need to start with the golem, or you might want to start with the Key Warden into the golem. I don't know what route you take here.
Yeah, the golem for
Poisonous.
5. Lifesteal very good. If you need the damage 3, you do not. Oh, ouch, that hurts. Damage 3 or freeze would have possibly been enough to keep you alive. But this is not what you want to see. I think at this point you kind of have to make a choice and then start finding other ways to salvage this
Keyword and
game.
Brain Freeze is probably your next.
Yep. Yeah, I think so. I think definitely. I don't know what else you're expecting in your deck to bail you out of a situation.
Second Brain Freeze is in the deck.
Yeah.
There's Brain Freeze.
Brain Freeze. So is that enough so that you can Brain Freeze on the 5/5? And then 3, 4, 7, 8. So you're not dead to Alex alone. Starting to run out of time, but he's gonna get the Brain Freeze off at least. Yeah, so he actually is dead now because of the drawing from the field contact. So
right.
He essentially lethaled himself there. That was a really tough turn. Like, not getting the damage 3 off the golem was kind of the death knell. But Key Warden might have been enough to.
Yeah, I think you probably start with the Key Warden on that turn, search for the Brain Freeze or some other option, and then you Secret Passage if you need to, knowing that you're going to guarantee get the Brain Freeze.
That was
either
definitely
way, it was a delay.
Right. I think where it kind of went off the rails for Roadrunner is the turn that he played the first Wicked Stab. I think from that point on, he was just scrambling and kind of gave Clarity enough info to figure out a path to victory. So I think overall Roadrunner played very well. I think that was it's a difficult deck to pilot anyway, and a difficult situation to navigate there towards the end. I think he kind of realized that as it was happening what he did, and then that just sort of cascaded into the disaster that we ended up seeing. So.
Well,
But
that's
not to take anything away from Clarity.
no,
Clarity
not at all.
played very well as well, and definitely deserved that victory. A hard fought 3-2. Well played by him for sure.
Well, let's
And,
we got Clarity in here last week. If you watch the stream, he said a nice happy birthday, or sang a nice happy birthday to his opponent, who's escaping me at the moment. But this week he gets the win, so we'll get to talk to him.
Yeah, he is switching his device to get into a better microphone position, and he'll be joining us in just a moment. But
All right.
so Donde, as the captain and teammate of the unfortunate losing side tonight, do you have any initial thoughts on the series and any takeaways?
Well, my initial thought is that I always cast my teammates losing. So this is
Donde.
Anfall has not been allowed to play on stream in multiple seasons when I've casted. He knows this. So this is actually not really a surprising result based on my
All your fault.
my luck. So yeah, I'm gonna take the collar on this one and
Okay.
say this is not
That's
Roadrunner's
fair.
fault. This is my mojo that did this to him.
Got it.
So
Got it. I see. Okay. Very, very noble of you.
but otherwise,
Good.
yeah, I like you said, Roadrunner. There were definitely some things that can be improved on as far as the lines that could be taken there. Clarity played very well as well. So it's just stuff to learn from, stuff to hopefully improve on as we get further into the season.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Yeah, still early in the season here is going to be a very long season this time around, 11 weeks. So plenty of opportunities to improve. I know I'm sitting at 0-2 myself, so definitely looking forward to every future week because it cannot get any worse. So yeah, it's kind of how it goes sometimes. Win some, you lose some, and you just try to get better. Welcome, welcome.
There
Hey
we
guys.
are.
Congrats
Clarity,
on the
welcome
victory.
back to the stream and welcome back to the interview booth on this week 2.
I don't have to sing this time.
You do not. We were talking about that. Isocles missed that last week, but you get to sit in the winner's circle by yourself this time. So congrats on the W.
I appreciate it. That rogue game was very difficult.
Yeah, we were talking about how you navigated that very well. Between the usage obviously of Alexstrasza, pulling it back to your hand so you had the flexibility there. It was done really well. Were you nervous heading into? I mean, the game 4 was the one we thought that you were gonna take it because that is a matchup that Hunter loves and just couldn't quite get there. Was there a little bit of like worry going into that game 5 because of that?
So game 4, I was like, I knew I was in a real good position, and it just, I couldn't find the damage, and
Yeah, you
that's
pressed
just,
your hand pretty hard there. in
Yeah,
game 4, so.
I didn't mean it as in you did anything wrong. Sometimes
Oh,
the
no,
deck
no,
just
no,
doesn't
yeah.
cooperate, of course. Yeah.
Yeah, and then going into game 5, like Rogue is probably my, I don't want to say it's my worst play class, but there's so many decisions with Rogue. I just going into the mirror, I never feel like super great about it, especially in a game 5 situation. But I think I actually played that game pretty good, and I'm super proud of that lethal setup in the Hunter in the Hunter mirror. That was sick. That was sick nasty.
Yeah, that worked out pretty well. The Hunter mirror was something. We both played very fast, and you both kind of committed almost entirely to a face plan to the point where Roadrunner was actually playing Knife Vendor early in the
Mid
game,
game, yeah.
which was pretty nuts. You don't see that too often.
It's called
And,
Face Hunter.
it's true. You actually were the one that made some of the trades that I think were enough to get you over the
Yeah.
edge there. But yeah, the setup towards the end of basically putting Roadrunner on the 1-turn clock, and he actually had an opportunity, I think, to take advantage of that if he had put his adorable infestation on a different minion, the one that could actually attack face, that he would have had just enough instead of leaving it at 1. So very,
Yeah.
very close game.
The way he did it,
there.
he was one off. Yeah.
Right. So I think the play that I think was interesting in the Rogue Mirror, the fortuitous one for you was the Mankrik coming out of the deck and going face to trigger the explosive. What were you thinking there? In that whole sequence of playing the explosive and watching his playing around it?
So I almost threw my laptop on the floor when Mankrik came out and proc that explosive. But like at that point in the game, I was like, man, I'm looking at him like, man, I'm probably gonna lose. I set up for the explosive trap pretty well. I did not expect Mankrik to come out. I was just hoping that, I don't know, maybe he had some kind of value in his hand and was going to proc it, because as long as that explosive's up, he really can't go face at any point without clearing his board. So, like, I knew I was safe for at least another turn or two,
Yeah.
but I was in a bad spot there, and then I lucked out getting the Shadow Staff and the Alex at the same time. I do have a question, though. When I stunnered that 10-10 that he put back, does it put it back in his hand at 10 mana or 11?
11.
11.
Okay, good. I didn't know what that interaction was, but I was like, I want to eliminate this from play.
Yeah.
Even if
So
it
let's see what
stayed
happens.
10, it was probably never getting played again either way. It was
Right.
effectively 11, but yeah, it was a brick in his hand.
Oh, thank God. I was like, please work like this, please.
No, it was the Blackjack Stunner was a huge pickup at that moment.
Yeah.
I'm curious, the turn like a little before that, when you ended up playing Alex defensively, were you always planning on playing Alex defensively in that spot, or did you do that when you saw him play the first stab on your face?
When he played the first stab on my face, I was like, I should probably heal, because this is the only healing I have in my deck. He's got, I just didn't know. I was sitting there looking at my deck tracker, trying to figure out what I had left in my deck to push me over the edge. And at that point, I was like, I'll take the 8 health.
Yeah.
It was definitely the right call, 100%.
Yes.
And Isaac pointed out during the cast too, we talked about obscuring information, and if he had not stabbed, you might not have been in that situation where you felt like you needed to use that, and he could have set up a potential lethal the turn after with discounts. So it was a bit of a giveaway to what Roadrunner's plan was, but you recognized it and made the correct counterplay. So that's obviously, big shout out to you for knowing what you had to do in that situation.
Yeah, man, I've been my team. I've played on 4 different teams in THL, and this is my first season as a captain, and my teammates put in more prep than any other team I've ever seen. I've been working with them a lot. Most of us play together every single day, and not just like a game or two. We're scrimming 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 games a day, every single one of us, and it's just it's starting to work out pretty good. Hoping the rest of the team plays well and we can get a win this week. But
well, you set yourself up for it now, because this takes the series back into your court with an 8-7 lead. So it's still going to come down to these last 2 games. Can't be won or lost in the first one that's played. So it should be an interesting week, and at the very least, points for both teams that badly need it to keep pace with some of the teams up at the top here in Hero. Very early on though, long season, so plenty of time to make it work.
Yeah, man, I'm excited. Last week we went against F2L, who's always ridiculously strong, and I feel like I kind of lost it losing to Fish in the 5 seed, but I have all the confidence in the world in Snake and Nomad going up against, I think it's Anfall and Ron, right?
You are correct. Yep, Snake plays Ron and Anfall plays Nomad Farmer. Yep. So we'll
Ron's
have to see how that. Yeah, Ron is
got to
great.
get rid of he's got to get rid of his bad luck before Ogremar, so hopefully he uses it versus Snake this week.
As his captain, I'm going to definitely have to ask him to not use all of the bad luck this week, and maybe save a little bit for next week. Not enough to knock him out, but just enough to get us the win here. But always fun to see a series go down to the wire. So it should be an exciting end to the week.
Yep, I appreciate you guys. I'm gonna go back and watch this VOD because I feel like I played pretty good, but there's a few things I could have done different too. So I want to go back and check out what you guys have to say.
You can always learn something. It's a good way to do it.
Yep.
Appreciate your time, man. Thank you for offering up on short notice as well your match on stream.
Yeah, 15 minutes before we played.
Well, worked out for you. Have a good night, Clarity.
I appreciate you guys. Thanks for casting.
Thanks, sir.
Have a good one.
Alrighty. Well, an adventure tonight, Isocles. We had a legacy. We had a hero. We had short notice, we had angry children in the background. There's a little bit of something for everyone tonight on this cast.
I appreciate that that she decided to cooperate very quickly and did not give us the full 3 hours that we've had a couple nights in a row. So
I think the only thing we were missing was your dog.
yeah, no, she's enjoying the outside time right now since it's not raining because yesterday she was locked in the entire day. So she's making up for it today. So.
Well, thank you for being back this week. Always a fun time to cast with you, and hopefully we see some more good games next week. But before we even get to the end, or before we even get to next week, we have to get to the end of this week, which is no School Zone tomorrow. Unfortunately, we had a cancellation on a match there. However, we do have a big match going into tomorrow night, 8 p.m. It is Rice Bowl versus Mr. Python in Pro Series. That's a humongous, awesome match to tune into at 8. And then, of course, fans of Battlegrounds will love the Green Lobby, Bob's Bounty Hunters, F2L Silver, Friends of Bob, and Little Rag Raiders duking it out at 9 p.m. So check that out if you are around and interested in awesome Battlegrounds action.
Great.
So, Icecleese, thank you. Anything else you'd like to say before we head out for the night?
Everyone have a good night.
That's what we're going to go with. Everyone have a good night. We'll see you next week. Good luck in your matches. Have fun. Be good to each other. See ya.
Later.